She's back!
Hailey Welch, aka Hot Tuah Girl, do not ask me why, popped back into the internet just to pop right back out by posting and then deleting a podcast addressing her crypto controversy. Let's break down her sudden reappearance and disappearance and how it may relate to this lawsuit that was filed against Doc Hollywood and the developers behind the hot coin. Hey, I'm America's attorney. I've been a lawyer for way longer than crypto has been around. I've helped over 160,000 people, and now I'm here on YouTube helping you to understand crazy crypto scams like this one. Let's get started. We'll start with Welch's return to YouTube via this podcast with Faze Banks, who you know is a YouTuber and owner of an esports organization. Like everything else she does, Welch's podcast drop was surrounded by controversy. When the podcast episode dropped last week, Faze Banks took to Twitter to expose Hailey's team. According to this tweet, Banks required secrecy around the podcast episode for fears of the Hawk token being manipulated. When the coin experienced a spike on the day they filmed the podcast, Banks claimed they pulled the episode, and yet Welch apparently didn't get the message because the episode went live anyways for a short period of time before it was pulled. This is exactly why the SEC and state entities are starting to police these coins. This is crazy. This is a ridiculous price manipulation. Trading on the expected news of the release of a podcast allows insiders to ride the spike and sell. The transparency that is necessary to have fair markets does not come naturally to human nature. Here, the sell side has all the info, publicity is about to happen, and the buy side has none. Oh, the price is moving, I better just buy. And the resulting abuse is so predictable. It's almost like once you figure out a way to steal from a group of people, you just can't stop yourself from stealing from that same group of people more and more and more. To recap, insider trading is trading on stocks or securities, which probably includes crypto coins, more on that in a minute, based on material, non-public information about a company, typically by company executives, employees, or others with privileged access to confidential information. It's illegal when the trader has a fiduciary duty to maintain confidentiality and not profit from private information. However, legal insider trading can occur when corporate insiders trade the security and properly report these trades to regulators. The key distinction is whether the trading is based on public versus non-public information. Since the filming of the podcast was done in private and not publicized, trading on the filming of the podcast was, by definition, trading on private information. How does all this tie in with the Hawk coin lawsuit? Well, surprisingly, maybe not too much, because Hailey Welch isn't even a defendant in that lawsuit. Let's talk about who is. First up is Alex Larson Schultz, who goes by the Hollywood-ready name Doc Hollywood. Imagine being so confident in your crypto venture that you promote it while using a persona that sounds like it belongs in a Netflix series, but not the good kind. Then there's Over Here Limited, a self-described Web3 developer platform that served as the launch pad for this whole venture. Think of them as like the backstage crew that helped set up the show. But then running the show at Over Here is Clinton So, the founder and the person who would later make the jaw-dropping statement about token holders being decentralized shareholders, which is a comment that would make any securities lawyer spray their coffee. Last but certainly not least is the mysteriously named To the Moon Foundation. Based in the Cayman Islands, because of course it is, this foundation was supposedly set up to receive funds from token sales. Here is where it gets interesting. Every time someone traded the token, 15% of the transaction went straight into that wallet. By the time everything went south, they'd collected a cool $3 million in fees. So let's talk money, specifically how the plaintiffs are trying to get theirs back. The lawsuit primarily rests on two key sections of the Securities Act, sections 5 and 12A1. Now, I know what you're thinking. Great, more legal code numbers. Maybe you're thinking, great, more legal code numbers. But stay with me because this gets interesting. Section 5 is basically the you can't sell unregistered securities rule, and it requires issuers to file a registration statement, while Section 12A1 creates liability for sellers who sell securities without registering. It's the here's how you get your money back if someone does this rule. Think of it this way. If you bought a car without a valid registration, you'd be entitled to get your money back even if the car works perfectly fine. That's essentially what the plaintiffs are arguing here. It doesn't matter if the token could have been successful. What matters is that it wasn't properly registered as a security. And notice how the plaintiffs aren't claiming fraud. That's a deliberate legal strategy. Under these Securities Act sections, they don't have to prove that anyone intended to do anything wrong. They just have to show that the tokens were unregistered securities sold in the US. Sometimes in law, the simple approach is the smart approach. But will this work? For that, we need to look at the law behind it. At its core, the entire case hinges on one crucial question. Was the Hawk token an unregistered security? According to the complaint, Hawk hits all three major checkboxes of the Howey test with almost embarrassing precision. First up, we have the common enterprise element. When investors pooled their money into Hawk, they weren't buying individual pieces of digital art or unique tokens. They were all investing in the same project, sharing the same risks, hoping for the same rewards. The complaint points out that the pre-sale alone raised $2.8 million, all going into one big collective pot. But wait, it actually gets better. Remember Clinton So's statement about token holders being decentralized shareholders? That's like accidentally admitting that your lemonade stand is actually an unregistered beverage distribution corporation. This statement appears prominently in the complaint because it essentially admits that the token holders were investing in a common enterprise. And by essentially, I do mean exactly. Let's talk about expectation of profits. The marketing campaign for Hawk reads like a masterclass in creating profit expectations. When Welch tweeted, "Tuah the moon," a phrase that in crypto speak basically means we're all gonna get rich, she wasn't exactly suggesting people buy tokens for their artistic merit. Add in the Mark Cuban podcast appearance and all those promotional materials about redefining the crypto space, and you got a pretty clear message. Buy in now, profit later. The third element of the Howey test talks about profits coming from the efforts of others. The complaint argues that investors were essentially passive participants, relying entirely on Welch's star power and the defendants' business acumen to make the tokens successful. 2025 sucks. When you're promoting someone's infectious energy and global fan base as reasons to invest, you're basically admitting that the token's success depends on their efforts, not the token holders. According to the complaint, the defendants tried to create a workaround by setting up an offshore foundation and claiming they weren't targeting U.S. investors. But according to the complaint, this was about as effective as putting up a no entry sign while leaving the door completely open, or maybe better yet, just taking it off its hinges. The website had no meaningful restrictions, no real verification process, and was actively promoted to U.S. audiences. The law looks at substance over form, and in this case, the substance looks an awful lot like an unregistered securities offering inside the U.S. If the court doesn't buy this offshore scuffle strategy, and the complaint makes a pretty compelling case why it shouldn't, it could invalidate a common playbook used by many crypto projects. We're living in an era where someone can just go viral in June and launch a cryptocurrency by December. Or also launch a cryptocurrency on Saturday and become president on Monday. I mean, it's incredibly powerful, but as this case shows, it's also incredibly dangerous if not handled properly. The SEC has been watching the crypto space with increasingly raised eyebrows. And cases like this one are exactly why. You know what's particularly fascinating, at least to me? This case might actually help legitimize the crypto space in the long run. By clearly establishing what you can and can't do, by forcing projects to play by the rules, we might end up with a more stable, more trustworthy crypto ecosystem. Hey, I'm looking forward to seeing how this lawsuit continues to play out, and I'll be keeping an eye on it, especially since my firm is prosecuting multiple crypto scams, but not this one. What are your thoughts on the lawsuit's claims? What do you think of Welch's spectacular, if brief, failure of a return? Drop your pro se opinion down below in the comments and let me know what you think. And don't forget to lawyer up with me, America's Attorney, by hitting that subscribe button to go to the moon.
Minions! Tonight, we steal the moon!
Or more realistically, just get really great legal content on YouTube. Because I'll be back soon with another legal breakdown, and I'd love to see you then. Are starting to police these, I said police. Or, I mean, more realistic. I'm so good at this.